Hey guys, it's the Mostly MMA Podcast, and I'm here with actor Lee Norris. Lee, how you doing, bud?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great, man. It's really cool to get you on here. Big One Tree Hill fan. I just want to go ahead and start out. You've got your Married with Television podcast. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's right. So I'm just sort of getting into podcasts. It seems like everybody has a podcast these days.
Right.
And my wife listens to a lot of them and kind of got me onto it. And we decided to do one together, just kind of for fun, just for something for us to do together as like a little passion project. So we created this Married with Television podcast, and basically it's about us watching all of these crazy reality shows that are on TV now, and just talking about them. I didn't really watch reality shows until I got married, and she sort of kind of suckered me into watching them. And so once she did, I kind of, got into it, and I was like, man, I can't believe I'm watching these shows, but you sort of get hooked after a while. So we decided it might be fun just to do like a little recap of the shows that we're watching, and it's been a lot of fun so far.
So what are you covering, like The Bachelor and stuff like that?
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of the show that started it all. She got me watching the Bachelor and the Bachelorette, and I was just honestly just making fun of all the people that were on there at first, because they play these people up and make them into kind of caricatures of themselves, and it's easy to just kind of sit back and sort of poke fun at them. But yeah, after a couple episodes, I found myself like getting a little bit invested in it. And I was like, what is happening? I guess this is what happens when you get married. But yeah, so that's kind of where we started off, and then she introduced me to a lot of the shows that are on Bravo. There's a show called Southern Charm, which is about this group of people in Charleston, South Carolina, and we're actually my wife and I are both from North Carolina, so that one's kind of interesting to us because it's based in the South, and we're familiar with Charleston. So yeah, we're covering lots of stuff, but basically we usually just pour a couple of cocktails and just sit back and have fun.
Good deal. Oh man, are you ever going to branch out away from just reality television? Will you try to cover anything else?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, never say never. I certainly, if we find that the shows that we're watching now aren't living up to our standards or whatever, then we might branch out into some scripted stuff at some point. I know a lot of people are hounding me and asking to do like a One Tree Hill recap.
Yeah.
So that's always nice to hear that people are still interested in that show. But there's a couple of Tree Hill podcasts out there, so they're doing a great job on their own for right now.
Yeah, I think that you would be the only one from the actual show that would have a podcast there, right?
From One Tree Hill?
Yeah, like there's no other actors from One Tree Hill that actually made a One Tree Hill podcast?
Yeah, not that I'm aware of. No, I don't know of anyone that's done it yet. And so that would definitely be something new. But again, for right now, we're just focusing on reality TV. And as I said, there's a lot of people doing Tree Hill podcasts. In fact, I was on one called Tree Hill Talk, and they're doing a great job. So for now, I think we'll just leave it to them.
Good deal. Do you think there's ever... Well, go ahead. I'm going to let my nephew take this question.
Is it possible that you guys will bring One Tree Hill back?
Oh, that's a great question. What's your name, by the way? I didn't catch...
Colby.
Hey, Colby. Nice to talk to you.
You too.
Again, never say never. I mean, I was on this show when I was really young called Boy Meets World, and it went off the air, back, years ago, and then all of a sudden, about 2 or 3 years ago, I got the call to come back and do the spin-off show, Girl Meets World. So, I mean, I would say part of me would be surprised if One Tree Hill came back, just because there was a lot of us on it, and it would be difficult to get everybody's schedules lined up, but... never say never, because it happens. A lot of shows that were once popular kind of come back around at some point. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah,
Thanks for the question.
You're welcome.
Sorry, good. I was reading actually an article the other day, and it was talking about how Wilmington, North Carolina, is still banking in a few million a year just from like the tourists, you know, like coming in, wanting to see the bridge, wanting to see the houses, just the filming locations. It's still booming pretty good. The interest is, you know, they credit it to Netflix, where Netflix is, you know, my nephew over here, he's 12, and he got into it because of Netflix, and then we started binge watching it together. I mean, I had watched it before him, and then it was kind of like watching it for the first time over again because he hadn't seen it. But
yeah, that's cool. Yeah, Netflix has been really great for introducing it to especially younger kind of generations, and it's been, you hit it on the head. I mean, there's all these conventions now that take place in Wilmington and all over the place that are One Tree Hill conventions, and you know, we get to go back to those and talk to fans and meet people, and it's really incredible the fact that it's still an important show to a lot of people, so it's exciting.
Yeah, it's something else. It's definitely a great show. There was an article, well, not an article, a blog. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's called Peyton's Place. Have you ever heard of that blog?
No, I haven't. What is that?
The owners of the house that the character Peyton resided in, the owners of that house, they wrote a blog about like their experiences of filming and stuff, and it was a really good read.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out. I didn't know about that actually. That sounds really cool. I've definitely been to that house, obviously, so it would be fun to get their perspective on it.
Yeah, it was pretty cool, and it kind of got me. I'm on them One Tree Hill groups, talking to other fans, and Dawson's Creek is another show that was filmed up there, and apparently one of those house owners had a No Dawson's Creek fans sign out and came out at somebody with a shotgun, I heard.
Uh-oh. Yeah, that can get a little dicey.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, I actually did like 2 little walk-on rolls on Dawson's Creek.
I remember.
Tree Hill, so so that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of the same crew too, so Dawson's and One Tree kind of run closely together, which is nice.
Yeah, one funny thing I thought from Dawson's Creek was when Chad Michael Murray was on it and Hillary Burton.
Yeah.
And they said, man, you guys are really into using last names on this show.
Exactly. So good.
That was definitely...
There's always lots of little inside jokes and things like that.
Definitely. I wanted to ask you, I'd got some fan questions. Usually when I ask for fan questions, I don't get a whole lot, but when I put it out there that I was doing a podcast with you, I got quite a bit. I got some pretty interesting ones, and
okay.
One of them was by Andrea Garcia, and she wants to know, what's the best advice Mr. Feeney ever gave you?
That's a great question. That's a good question. I have to think about that. I think the one episode that's coming to mind is when he gave Minkus some kind of, I think it was some kind of math problem that he had to solve, and I think Minkus got the wrong answer, or you have to forgive me, it's been a couple years since I've seen it, but something like he got the wrong answer, or there was no answer, and Minkus became obsessed with like the fact that he got it wrong because he always got every question right that he was asked, and so Mr. Feeney kind of challenged him and taught him that, you're not always going to have the answer to every problem, and that's okay, and so that was kind of a big thing for him. So yeah, I think that just off the top of my head, that's probably the best advice, but that's a great question. I appreciate that. And
that leads to another question. Eric wants to know, who's smarter, Minkus or Topanga?
Ooh, that's dirty. That's tough. You're gonna get me in trouble if I say the wrong thing here. I would say, oh man, I guess technically in the end, I think Topanga ended up having like one more A than Minkus did, or something like that when they graduated. I remember that was a plot point. So
right.
I guess Topanga, but I don't know. Minkus he's pretty smart. And then we found out in Girl Meets World that he goes on and becomes like a billionaire mogul or whatever.
Yes.
So, but Topanga's a lawyer, so they're both really smart. That's a toss up.
Yeah, Ollie and Tyson.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Jasmine wants to know what it was like to work with the cast of Girl Meets World. Yeah,
it was great. Obviously to get to see Ben Savage and Danielle Fishel at Ryder Strong, and even William Daniels, who played Mr. Feeney. I got to see him during the last episode. Was just great. I mean, I hadn't seen them for years. You work together on a show, and when I finished that show, I went back east, and so you just kind of lose touch with people. But when I went back on Girl Meets World, we just sort of, obviously we're all adults and grown up, but there was still this kind of natural history and chemistry there, and it was just great to be with them, and we were all excited to be a part of it because none of us ever thought anything like that would ever happen, where we'd be playing those characters again as adults who now had like kids on the show. So it was pretty crazy, and the kids themselves, the sort of new generation of Girl Meets World, those kids were great. They were really professional and very nice, and really excited to be a part of that, and very complimentary of our original show, which is amazing to me because they weren't even born when we were filming the original shows. So it was a really cool experience.
Yeah, it was weird because I binge watched that show. Like I went back and rewatched it, and then like I have this thing after I finish the show, I go to Wikipedia and I want to look up stuff, and it was like, oh, they're making a Girl Meets World, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a surprise, but it was nice. I mean, I feel like the creator of that show realized that there's not as much family programming on as there used to be. Like, we used to have the whole TGIF lineup on Friday nights that was kind of devoted to family shows, and there's a little bit of that now, but you don't see quite as much of it. And so I think he felt like it might be a good time to bring a show like that back. So it was fun. It was a good time.
What was your reaction to it being canceled?
When I went to do the last episode, it seemed pretty clear that it was the finale, because they had just about every single one of us who had been on the show as a kind of a recurring character was there. So it wasn't a surprise, really, and I was just proud of them. They did 3 seasons, which is amazing in its own right. This day and age, it's hard for a lot of shows to get past 1 season, because there's so many channels, so many different things available now on Netflix and Hulu. I was proud of them and happy they got that far, and I think it was a nice way. That final episode was a nice way for us to kind of close it out and everybody get together one last time, and just kind of say our goodbyes and just be grateful that we even have that chance to sort of reconnect, because so many shows never get that chance.
Definitely. I may be wrong, but I read that there was one more like movie to air, one more episode to air for Girl Meets World.
Oh, really? Yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard about that. That's interesting.
I may have got some false info there.
No, it's definitely possible. I mean, I just kind of recurred. I was on and off that show, so I don't have all the inside knowledge of it.
Of course, yeah. What kind of projects do you have going on? Can we expect to see you in anything?
Yes, I actually I'm about to work on a TV show, and unfortunately I can't say what it is.
That's okay.
I wish I could. It's really exciting, and maybe in a couple of months when it's about to air, maybe we can circle back around to it. But yeah, it's a really cool opportunity. It's a show that a lot of people watch, and it's a show that I'm a fan of and have been a fan of for a long time. So I'm excited about that, and I'm working on that now. I'm reading other scripts. I'm trying to move behind the camera a little bit and work on getting some films made and things like that. So a lot of different things going on right now.
Cool. What do you prefer? Do you like to be in front of the camera or behind the camera?
Well, I like both for different reasons. I mean, obviously, acting was kind of my first love. I've been doing it since I was 9 years old, and it's been a lot of fun, and I've enjoyed it, and I've gotten to play some really cool characters. But after doing it for now, this is like my 26th year, I guess, of acting.
Yeah.
You kind of want to grow a little bit and challenge yourself, and so it's not to say that I'm bored with acting by any means, but you still just want to challenge yourself in some ways, and so that's why I've started looking at positions kind of behind the camera, just to sort of grow a little bit and see, if that's something that appeals to me. And so far, I've really enjoyed it, just in the little bit that I've gotten to do. So that's why I'm not quitting acting by any means. I'm just sort of exploring the other side and seeing what's there, and we'll just kind of feel it out.
Yeah, good deal. Do you keep in contact with any of your cast members from One Tree Hill?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we, a lot of us spent almost 10 years together, so those are definitely lifelong friendships and bonds. And again, it's tough because we all sort of have different schedules, and some of us are in different places. Like Sophia's in Chicago doing her show right now. So it can be a little harder to get together than as often as we like, but we have a lot of text message chains going on with each other, and I'm really good buddies with Stephen Coletti. He and I get together quite a bit, and I see James Lafferty. He lives nearby, so we're able to get together from time to time. And then there's these conventions that I mentioned where they bring us back, and so that's always a good excuse for us to kind of all get together and hang out and catch up. And yeah, they're all great people. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, the conventions you're talking about, you're gonna be there in October, right? The return to One Tree Hill.
Yeah, I believe so. I'm gonna be there in October. It's in Wilmington, and I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I think they just announced Chad and James are both going, and yeah, it should be a lot of fun. It's always good to go back to Wilmington. We love that town. That's where we obviously shot the show for many years, and so it really feels like home.
Kind of a weird question here. Kelsey Williams wants to know, will you be singing I Like Big Butts in October? Apparently you've done this before.
That's great. There's a strong possibility. I feel like it's difficult for me to get away with not doing that. Yeah, they usually have a party at the club that we actually filmed that scene at, and so whenever we go to the party and we're on that stage, it's generally someone asks me to do it because it just feels somewhat appropriate since we're in the place where it happened. So yeah, I'm okay with it. It's fun. If I'm gonna sing a song, that's a fun one to sing at least.
That's funny. When I put that out there, usually you see people on the groups and they'll say, what's so and so like, and you'll get mixed reviews. But when I asked them, what you were like. I got nothing but good stuff. Everybody really loves you.
Oh, that's so nice. I appreciate that. I've been lucky to have really amazing support for most of my career, and I don't know what to attribute that to, but I'm really grateful for it. So thanks for sharing that.
No problem. Just classy character, man.
Thanks.
I was wondering, do you watch any sports? Are you keeping up with any sports?
Yeah, I do. I was a big college basketball fan. In fact, that's a big part of the reason that I got, it's not the reason I got the One Tree Hill job, but it helped certainly because, Mouth was a sports commentator.
Yeah.
And so I went to Wake Forest University, which is a small school in North Carolina. And when I was there, our basketball team was actually really good. We had Chris Paul, and we were actually number one at one point while I was there. So I was really into that, and Mark Schwann, who created the show, went to the University of Maryland, which obviously used to be one of our ACC rivals, and so when I went to the audition, I had on my Wake Forest basketball t-shirt, and he was like, oh no, you're a Demon Deacon, and I was like, yeah, when he was like, I'm a Terp, and I was like, oh man, but it was kind of like this cool little thing that we had in common, and he saw that, I had a genuine interest in sports, so I think that actually kind of helped me. So yeah, I follow college basketball. I've recently more gotten into NFL because of fantasy football stuff. I was in a fantasy football league actually with Stephen Coletti and another one of the guys from the show who was a guest star. And actually Mark Schwann was in it for a while too. And I actually won like two seasons ago. I won. And that was like my second time doing it. So I've gotten super into that. That's been a lot of fun. So, and especially now that LA finally has an NFL team again, so that's kind of exciting. You can go to games now. But I'm also a Panthers fan because I grew up in North Carolina, so I have allegiance there too. Yeah.
Who was your go-to guy in your fantasy league? I had Jamal Charles last year, man, in 2 leagues, and he really let me down.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm trying to think. The year I won, I think I had Antonio Brown,
Ooh.
and that was pretty solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I did have I always have Greg Olson usually as my tight end, and usually he performs. This past season it was a little dicey, but
yeah, that's good stuff. Fantasy football, it's a lot of fun. Mark Schwann, he seems like a really cool guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He's obviously responsible for keeping One Tree Hill on the air for 9 seasons, which is no small task this day and age. So
yeah,
great, very great writer, great at casting, really funny, tells fun stories, is fun to be around. Yeah, he's a great guy.
I got a question for you that you probably can't answer. I'm gonna throw it out there anyways. There's a company out there that claims to still sell pieces of the River Court, even though the show's been gone for years. What do you think the possibility of this being legit is?
I have no idea. That's a good question. I know that someone gave me a piece of the River Court and at one of the conventions, and I'm not sure where they got it. I don't know if they got it from that company or from somewhere else, but the piece that I have looks legit real. It looks like what I remember, the same surface and everything. But I don't know. I wouldn't want to mislead anybody and tell them that it's real if it's not. But I'm just so sad that they took it down, because it was such a cool spot, and I know, even just beyond our fans, if they found a way to kind of set it up as like a recreational area for people, I think that could have been cool. But it's the city's land, and certainly they have the right to do what they want with it. And luckily for us, it always lives on, and on the show. So
yeah, I always fantasized about playing some ball there.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time there, a lot of late nights, because a lot of those scenes were one-on-one games that happened at night, and we would be shooting, all night long, sitting by that river, which was quite cold, sitting by a river like that. But we always had the best time out there. It kind of felt like we were a bunch of kids at camp.
Did you guys get some serious games going?
I did not. I'm not a basketball player, so I was not involved in any of those games. But yeah, James Lafferty is a great basketball player, and so is Antoine Tanner, who played skills, and some of the other guys who were on the Ravens squad. Those are all legit good basketball players, and so they would definitely hoop it up in between shots and sometimes during lunch and things like that. And yeah, it was always really, really cool to watch, because they definitely were good at it.
Yeah, I know James, he was in a celebrity all-star game, and I was watching, and he did a double pump and scored, and we about lost it because I wanted it to be real, man.
Yeah, no, he's really good. So that was always fun. It was difficult for Chad, because Chad actually wasn't really a basketball player, and he was supposed to be good. I think Chad played football in high school. He was a good football player. So that was kind of trying sometimes. So they did have basketball doubles occasionally that would come in and play for the guys. So that's kind of a little insider scoop.
Nice. One more question. Can James dunk? Can
James dunk?
Yeah, can Lafferty really dunk?
I think he used to be able to. I don't know if he can anymore. We're getting older, but you probably won't appreciate me saying that. But I don't think he plays as much as he used to. But I know at one time I think he could. So I wouldn't put it past him. But yeah, nonetheless, he's good even without the dunks.
Definitely. I watched some episodes last night. Those dry cleaners aren't still shrinking your shirts, are they?
Luckily not. No. Yeah, that was definitely an interesting storyline, one I never saw coming.
That was unique. Do you have a favorite episode of One Tree Hill?
I would say, I've said this many times, and it's true. The school shooting episode is probably always going to be one of my favorites, and certainly it wasn't a happy episode by any means, but we worked really hard on it, and it was a really important show in the span of our entire series, because it gave us so much material to work off of for years after that. I mean, Mouth was always affected by losing Jimmy as a friend and what happened, and certainly the repercussions of Dan and Keith and all of that, just played out forever. So that's always going to be my favorite. I have other episodes that were more fun that I loved, for other reasons. Like there's an episode where we went to Park City, Utah, and shot, and our whole crew got to go, and we got to go snow skiing when we weren't working and things like that. So episodes like that are fun, but for different reasons.
Definitely. I might be weird, but I always root it for Dan Scott. I don't know. I always root it for that guy.
Yeah, he was definitely a bad dude, but I think that's the thing about him is they made him likable in some ways. He was almost so bad you liked him in some regard.
Yeah.
And so I don't think you're alone in the fact that sometimes you did find yourself sort of rooting for him, and that's a strange feeling because he's a murderer and not a good guy.
Yeah.
At all. But that's a testament to Paul Johansson too, because he played him so well and kind of won people over, even though he was so smarmy.
Yeah, you can only take the material so far without good acting, and that's what the show really had. Just had some great writing and some great acting.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, we were really lucky. We had a good group of actors and writers, for sure.
In what ways can you relate to Mouth?
I would like to think that hopefully I'm as kind as he is. He was a very kind soul, I feel like. He looked for the best in people. I felt like his relationship with Rachel, for example, is a good indicator of that. She was kind of this bad girl, and he sort of saw through that and kind of, gave her the benefit of the doubt, whereas other people didn't. So that's the way I try to live my life. I'm not sure if I'm successful or not, but that's one way where I hope we kind of relate. And certainly, just little things like our interest in sports, and I I don't think it's any secret that Mouth danced in a lot of episodes. And when I was younger, we would all go out to clubs and stuff, and that was one way to talk to girls. And so I would get out on the dance floor and start dancing. And so Mark actually saw that I could somewhat dance, and started writing that into scripts. And I was like, what is happening?
Man.
So we do have that in common, although I don't really do it anymore because, again, I'm just too old now. But yeah, those are kind of the main similarities. We definitely have lots of differences. He had a bit of a dark side to him sometimes. I think he threw a brick at Brooke's windshield one time, and he had an affair with his boss, and some other, just crazy stuff that, for the sake of television, you have to do crazy things, otherwise your character's just boring all the time. So there's definitely some differences too.
Yeah, I think my favorite was that time. I think it was like towards the end of season 4 when you guys were graduating, and you were up on the roof drinking, and then you just you jumped down and just went for it and went and kissed Brooke. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was a great episode. Mouth had a nice high school graduation episode. That was a lot of fun to shoot. So yeah, definitely one of my favorites.
All right, I got one more question for you, bud, and we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
In a world where you never became an actor, what would you be doing?
That's a great question. I always thought that I was going to be a lawyer when I was in college. That's sort of the track that I was on. And I'm kind of One Tree Hill kind of came up and derailed me from that, and I'm actually kind of glad that it did, because the more that I started to learn about law and being a lawyer, the less it appealed to me. And so the other thing that I thought about doing was becoming a professor, and that's something that still interests me from time to time. And I toy around with the idea of, if I ever fully decide to quit acting, it would be fun to be like a professor and maybe, I don't know, teach acting or teach. I majored in English, so maybe I could teach English or communication. But yeah, I've always thought that could be a fun job. I love working with young people, and I like the college atmosphere and college sports, and you're not sitting behind a desk all day. So I think something like that would be interesting for me. So we'll see.
Yeah, definitely, man. I really appreciate you taking your time and coming on the podcast, man. It means a lot.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for reaching out. I'm glad to hear you enjoyed the shows, and best of luck with your podcast and with all of your success on Facebook and all of those groups. That's amazing, and I just appreciate the opportunity too.
Thanks, bud. Kobe, you want to tell him later?
See you later.
All right, man. So go back to school now.
All right, buddy. You take it easy, man. Thanks so much.
Okay, you too. Take care.